because we are really worried that increasingly many government entities, but most importantly counties, are being discharged negatively. The opinion for 2023, 2022, 2023 for most counties actually is an adverse opinion. And as I've told you, what that means is that there are widespread malpractices. So in Nakuru, there are many bad practices that the Auditor General has pointed out. And the essence of those bad practices is that they are denying Kenyans the opportunity to enjoy the services they deserve from their government. So we sit here as members of the Nakuru Civil Society Forum that brings together about 30 organizations that are operating or running programs in Nakuru County. And as part of this statement, we're going to introduce to you who we are and what we do. You know, the 1.14 billions that cannot be traced. People have been paid, but in the payroll, you know, the total amount executed by the payroll that was provided lagged 1.14 billion. If that money was available, they would have paid 600 intern doctors for 1 year. And you know what that means to service delivery. That's just one. And then you hear that we are saying we don't have money to pay doctors to return to work. That's where the paradox lies. Now, as NACS of Nakuru County Civil Society Forum, we know the county assembly is obligated by law to act on the Auditor General's report for the county government. Unfortunately for us, you realize even in this report, they've been flagged out as having been bribed, and I'm using this word very intentionally. Why would the executive give the assembly money, yet we know that by law, the assemblies run their own budgets? And you know what they call this? Facilitation. Yeah? What were they being facilitated for? So that's what I call bribery. So we really would want to call the county assembly first and foremost to come out clean on this. That's number one. And then to take action as per law to investigate and make public their findings on the report. Further, we are demanding that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission moves with speed to investigate possible fraud, abuse of office, dereliction of duty, fraud, and theft in the budget lines mentioned. We just looked at sections of the report. We have not done comprehensive analysis, but we picked this because they affect the taxpayers the most. So it's our call to EACC, since we do not expect the County Assembly of Nakuru to do anything substantive to investigate and bring to book those found culpable to have been involved in any practices that defrauded you and I of our hard-earned tax money. That the County Assembly and Executive, on their own volition, should come out and provide a public justification for expenditure. We are giving them this option because as NACSOF, we do appreciate how the audit process works. So they were given the first opportunity by the Auditor General to provide justification, to explain the findings, and they abdicated that responsibility. Actually, they did not. But we are giving them a second chance now that the report is published. Before we continue having the drama that we see, can the governor and the minister, the CCM member for Treasury, come out and give detail by detail explanation of what the Auditor General is saying? It's incumbent upon them. Indeed, it's their duty, it's their responsibility as government. And further to that, they need to enumerate the actions they wish to take to address the queries, and as well the measures they intend to put in place to prevent malpractices from recurring in future. Of course, one of the findings one of the things the Auditor General is speaking to is payment of private lawyers, uh, quite a huge sum of money. It will be explained that this is a debt that has been rolled over, over time. And they came out, provide those details, put it down on paper, and explain how they are going to address it once and for all. We are calling upon the Senate Public Accounts Committee to demand for responses as quickly as possible. But you know what? This is a misnomer in by itself. If the assembly were performing its duty, the Senate would come to lend the last resort. But now as NACSOF, we are left with no option than to ask the Senate to come to the ground and engage and institute an investigation as would ensure that these malpractices being pointed out are brought to an end. Considering the total queried amount and the entire implications on service delivery, NACSOF urges public oversight institutions to move swiftly and initiate forensic investigation to determine the gravity of the issues that generate evidence for prosecution. You know, we are good at punching the air. Yesterday, there was this very sad conference in Nairobi discussing the wage bill that ended up discussing fake certificates. So we waste the little we have, then we start creating ghosts and then fighting those ghosts. So what we are demanding of all public oversight institutions collectively is to act in concert with each other and to ensure public finance violations of the Public Finance Act, public finance regulations are brought to an end, if only to save the Kenyan taxpayer from the burden of wastage. So on our part as NACSOF, we are going to keep a keen eye on this. We're going to follow up with the Public Accounts and Public Investments Committee of the County Assembly. Actually, when we are done with the complete analysis, we will be having an engagement with them. Through the Citizen Accountability Audit of the Supreme Auditing Institution, we are also going to engage the Auditor General's Office and recommend specific actions for Nakuru County, tailored for Nakuru County. It's dawning on us that actually there is a deliberate scheme to steal from the public. Nakuru is now experiencing what we call budgeted corruption. They put money close to their mouths, and then because of their ineptitude, they forget we are all stupid. And also they seem to be saying that the Auditor General cannot read between the lines, which is unfortunate. So we'll continue following up on this, and in the fullness of time, if need arises, and because this is an agenda we have, a national agenda, we will consider joining hands with colleagues, other CSO forums across counties, if necessary, to institute legal action. What we want to do is to test public interest litigation. How can we enforce public finance regulations so that the Kenyan taxpayer is saved from the greed of our leaders? Look at the issues we've raised there, and we know for sure there are people in government who are complicit of the wastage we are experiencing. There's someone who is not doing his job or her job, and the only reason we can defer or infer is perhaps that's the person benefiting the most from the fraud that's happening in government.